Hey everybody, welcome to the weight loss webinar. I want to wish you a warm and happy new year. It is 2020, right around the corner, and in the spirit of 2020, in the spirit of the new year, I know that everyone's mind is focused on how to make themselves better, including their body weight. And so tonight we're going to share with you some tips and tricks and offer some suggestions on what you can do to do it the right way, to do it healthy, and to make lifestyle changes that won't just help you lose weight, but they're going to help to have a better quality of life overall. So that being said, here's an introduction myself. My name is Dr. Brady Wyrick. I've been in clinical practice in Idaho Falls, Idaho for about 13 years now. We focus on chiropractic, functional neurology, regenerative medicine, and functional medicine. I have a couple of other jobs that I do. I'm the chief science educator for both Synergy Science, US Enzymes, and Master Supplements. And there's also going to be some really, really cool career changes that are coming up for me right around the corner that I'm going to be announcing here in the next couple of weeks that are going to expand what we have to offer. And actually going to be really cool and exciting things for me that I've always wanted to do. So there's some really cool stuff that's coming down the pipe. A little bit about my family. We're a blended family. My wife and I have been together now for about 3 years. Between the two of us, I will save you from counting. There's 8 humans. There's 10 humans in that picture. This is an old picture. It's been a while since we've all been together. Our oldest, who's my wife's son, just returned from his church mission in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And her second oldest son is now on his church mission in Cape Verde, Africa. So we have some pretty quiet times at our house when no one's here, and then we have some absolutely rambunctious times at our house, like right now, when almost everyone is here. So we are doing this from my home. So if you hear kids in the background, if you see a kid walking through, it's very possible that might happen. So that's my family life here in Idaho Falls. This is my awesome wife, Kim. Kim does a lot of great things for me, personally and professionally, but she's also has her own Instagram page that she started that's living_with_lupus, where she shares a lot of ideas on recipes and things that seem challenging when looking from the outside in, but that can actually help you live a better quality of life. So I would highly recommend checking her Instagram page out. So my mission is to help as many people as I can live a better quality of life by whatever means necessary. Tonight we're going to touch on a couple of those means. But I love this. I think it's a Jägermeister ad, but literally every person is messed up, so pick up your favorite train wreck and roll with it. It just makes me laugh, but we want to do everything we can to help out. A couple of statements that I want to make before we start. Number one is weight gain is a symptom, not a disease. Obesity, gaining weight, putting those extra pounds on, it's actually a sign of an inflammatory thing that's happening inside of your body that needs to be addressed, and it cannot be addressed by counting calories alone. So the other one is this great quote that I got from my friend Dr. Paul Baratero. We've arrived at a point in history when we are sicker than our ancestors and are in desperate need of modalities of healing that do not add to our toxic load. When I hear people talk about medical weight loss or about getting things like gastric bypasses, gastric sleeves, they work out great for some people, but there are a lot of people that are still in that toxic load phase where they really haven't addressed the toxins that they're putting into their body. So we want to make sure we talk about some of those tonight. And just to be 100% transparent, I'm embarrassed, but at the same time, it was hard for me to put this picture in here, but I did it anyway. This was taken a couple years ago, and as you can see, I had a few pounds that I need to lose as well, so you're not going to be doing this alone. There was a time that I was highly stressed and highly toxic, and I had a toxic load being put into me, and what you're going to learn tonight is this right here is more of a sign of toxicity than it is of overeating, and you'll understand what I mean here shortly. So, last one, weight loss is not a math equation. We've got to get that idea through our head that calories in equals calories out. It's disproven. It's wrong. It's no longer valid. Never was valid. Frankly, it was a little bit of clinical research that people that could market it and sell you food that was lower in calories, quote unquote food that was lower in calories, but had less nutrition, leading to a deficient state that actually made people fatter. So weight loss is not a math equation. We've got to stop thinking about it this way, and hopefully tonight I can help shed some light on that for you. I always laugh, and I always throw this in here. My good friend Shane McCartney, he shared this with me. Literally anything that the government or mainstream media says about anything, there's me. I always lift a blind eye. So going to the grocery store with my wife and I is kind of an adventure because we both think the same way. And we always laugh when we pull out food items and read the nutritional values from suggestions that were put in there by our government. Excuse me. Hopefully I can debunk some of that stuff for you tonight and help you to actually read food labels. And I got a couple examples. These are kind of funny. Hey, first off, almonds, you'd think they're natural foods. My wife grabbed a bag of almonds. I love to eat raw cashews, raw almonds on actually quite frequently. This bag she grabbed, and we got about halfway through the bag until we read the ingredients. And if you get anything tonight, start reading your food labels, and let's start to try to avoid anything that's actually in a package because it's typically not good for you. And this is one case where that's true. So these are Blue Diamond almonds. They were sea salt almonds. The sea salt versus the roasted. The roasted, the ingredients were just almonds, but these particular ones were fried in vegetable oil. Vegetable oil. We're going to talk about healthy fats here in a little bit, but there's nothing vegetable about canola, safflower, or soy oil. These are highly inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids versus omega-3s, and even a food that you would think of as healthy. Well, read the label and just make sure you know what you're getting. Here's another example. This isn't even on the label. This is just blatant marketing. Again, it's kind of fun to go to the grocery store because we take pictures of stuff like this. So this is a Quaker Chewy granola bars. Okay? So parents will buy these thinking that they're better for their kids than other things that their kids can eat, but this is just a candy bar wrapped in a different wrapper. But hey, it's better for you because it has no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial preservatives or flavors, or no added colors. People buy this thinking they're being sold a healthy product, and they're also getting 9 grams of whole grains. This is awesome for my child. Wrong. Hey, let's just throw that out right now. These things are loaded with sugar. And the problem is, one of the things we're going to talk about is the grain theory. The grains are actually good for you, which they are. However, grains are very highly, there's a lot of glyphosate in grains. We're going to talk about glyphosate here in a little bit. But the way I see it is this: there's no mother, no father in their right mind that would pour their child a bowl of cereal and then spray it with Roundup. Yet that's exactly what's happening when we consume products like this. So my point is let's think about this guy back here. Literally anything that the government or the mainstream media says about anything, this is mainstream media. They take food that there's no nutritional value to it whatsoever, and they try to pitch it to you as something as healthy. And the other example that I forgot to grab was Twizzlers licorice. Right on the bag says low in cholesterol. Well, there's so much sugar in that and food coloring in that crap that they're going to increase your oxidative stress and be more of a culprit for a heart attack or stroke than cholesterol actually would. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now too. So just a couple things to think about. Let's get into let's talk about this, what belly fat really means. Belly fat really is an indication of brain health. And stay with me for a minute. You don't get belly fat is not the result of eating too many calories. Now, it could be the result of eating too many calories, the bad calories, in a calorie in a Big Mac, for example, or awful calories from the inflammatory oils to the glyphosate load to the grains that are in there. Yeah, they're really bad calories versus an avocado might have the same amount of calories but has a bunch of healthy fats, etc. But belly fat really is not a result of calories. It's a result of the wrong calories. Your belly, the size of your belly, your waist, is actually inversely proportional to brain health. And this is talked about in the book in Grain Brain by Dr. David Perlmutter. He talks about studies that have been done that basically say the bigger your brain or the bigger your gut is, the smaller your brain mass is, and there's actually direct links between gut health and Alzheimer's. So, for those of you looking down at your muffin top, you want to start thinking twice about this, because losing weight just doesn't have to do about feeling good about yourself and feeling sexy. It's about being overall generally healthy. This is another number 3. Fat is a buffer to toxins. You think about this, your body will actually store fat and sequester the toxins that you're putting into that fat to buffer the rest of your body from getting to those toxins. So people that eat a highly inflammatory diet, they're going to put belly fat on. That belly fat is actually a protective mechanism that's protecting the rest of your body from the toxins that mostly you're putting in your mouth. And then lastly, excess fat, especially belly fat, disrupts your hormone physiology. This is absolutely 100% true. If you don't believe me, you need to look into what's called aromatization of hormones. And basically what this means is you look at men, they have excess blood sugar, excess body fat, they turn testosterone into estrogen, and they get something called gynecomastia, or in other words, man boobs, versus a woman that stores excess body fat with excess blood sugars. She's going to take testosterone and turn it into estrogen and turn it into testosterone. And these are the women that you see that are growing facial hair. So this does happen. This is extremely important. And I've said, for the decade and a half that I've been in practice, the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to lose weight and maintain a healthy body weight. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a little plug in here for my brother right now. My brother in the last about the last year has shed 85 pounds. I'm extremely proud of him, and you better believe he's a healthier individual today because of it. So here, let's get right into the steps. I'm going to give you a couple of different steps that you can do on your own. You can start into some of these right now. And then we'll talk about a couple steps that you can take that would involve a functional medicine practitioner like myself. I'll give you a link that you can actually schedule an appointment so that we can talk about your particular case, and I can make some one-on-one recommendations for you. But I want to make sure we talk about just some baseline foundational stuff. Step 1 is you've got to just start drinking water. Hey, there's nothing healthy about adding stuff to water. Your body is about 70% H2O. Not H2O plus high fructose corn syrup, not H2O plus aspartame, not H2O plus it's water. Start drinking of this stuff. Okay? This means that no soda. Do not drink soda. No diet soda, no Coke Zero, no sweetened with whatever. Soda is soda. And I always used to joke, I used to teach a class where we would write on the whiteboard, I'd write diet, because everybody has a tendency to think diet soda is somehow better for you. I actually get in arguments with this with the owner of my gym. If you want to do one thing faster than anybody else by drinking diet soda, just take that word diet and erase the T, and it means die. Just stop drinking this stuff, period. I know it's hard. I know you're addicted to it. I still fight cravings for it. But that stuff's just absolutely awful. There's nothing good about it. And even a little bit here and there is still too much. And here's one of the hard things about food. Hey, food, well, quote unquote food, processed food is poison. Period. Hey, the challenge is that when you eat it, you don't get an immediate reaction like you would if you were to eat cyanide. You eat cyanide, you die immediately. Unfortunately, if you eat processed food, that death is going to stretch out over 70 plus years, and you'll just have a chronically diseased state and a low quality of life rather than just dying. So it's really hard for people to wrap their heads around what I'm saying tonight because they don't think that food is poisonous, but in reality, it's just the time it takes to kill you versus something that would be considered poisonous and dangerous. So anyway, that was a total side note. your body, the number of, or the amount of water that you should drink a day is, take your body weight, divide that number by 2, and that is your goal for number of ounces per day. So for example, right now I'm about 200 pounds. That basically means I should be drinking 100 ounces a day, which is, I take 8 ounces of water. It's about 12 glasses such as this. That's how much water you should be drinking to stay hydrated. Now, filtered water is an absolute must. I used to teach and preach that just going to go buy a $20 filter from Walmart was good enough. And it's still better than nothing, but you really need to get a good filter and drink filtered water. And the reason for that is, I'm going to go on and on about glyphosate tonight, so I might as well just start talking about it now. Glyphosate is a omnipresent pesticide. It's the biggest pesticide used in the world. It is Roundup. It's sprayed on the production of grains, farming, all over the place. It leaches into our water. Idaho Falls, go look at it on Google Maps. See all those circles around Idaho Falls? Those are all potato fields. And guess what they spray in those potato fields, which gets into the drinking water, which is glyphosate, which disrupts your bacteria in your gut and makes you chronically unhealthy. You got to find ways to filter that out. So yes, this is a shameless plug for the Echo H2 water machine. This particular device will filter out all of the junk, all of the heavy metals, all of the glyphosate, and so you just get pure, clean water. And what's really interesting is to drink nothing but this for about a week, and then try to take some regular tap water, because the stuff is actually pretty disgusting once you've gotten used to this. But that's not just the only benefit. It not only just filters water, but it adds dissolved hydrogen to the water. And some of the benefits of a dissolved hydrogen is it has a global antioxidant effect. Before I said, you increase weight, the more stress that the more oxidative stress that you're under, the hydrogen actually squashes. Well, I don't know what I'm trying to say. The hydrogen actually, it actually binds with the hydroxyl radical and to form more water, but it helps to get rid of that oxidative stress that's happening. It also has been shown in multiple disease effect models that there's tons and tons of papers about several different, all sorts of different diseases and how it can help you with those particular diseases. Hydrogen actually crosses the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells, and helps you produce more ATP, or helps you have more energy. And when you start exercising, if you're exercising now, it actually helps muscles to recover faster. So it's not just about filtering your water, but you also want to drink hydrogen water because of the effects that hydrogen can have on your entire body. So I did skip in there to avoid single-use plastics. That's for a couple different reasons. The plastics, the chemicals that are used to make the plastics can actually disrupt your hormone production, but they also, that's an environmental statement to avoid those single-use plastics. So that's step one. Number one is to drink water. Step number two is to protect your microbiome. Your microbiome is the environment within your gut. When I say your gut, we're talking from the opening that's here to the opening that's down there. It's a hollow tube from this end to that end. That hollow tube, you get down into the colon, and there is a ton of bacteria in that colon, and you're in a symbiotic relationship with that bacteria. That means that you can't live without that bacteria, and it cannot live without you. That bacteria that's in there under normal circumstances should be producing about 10 liters of hydrogen per day. And if you're not getting that hydrogen, that increases the disease state. And what did I say at the beginning of the webinar? Weight gain is a symptom of a diseased state. It's not a diagnosis. Your good flora, those good gut bugs, help by eating toxins and pooping nutrients. That helps keep your body giving it the energy that it needs. But unfortunately, our bacteria is disrupted by stress, antibiotic use, chemical exposure, and obtrusive in-laws. I put that in there as a joke. My in-laws are fantastic people. They're not obtrusive at all. It just made me laugh. Hey, dysbiosis, or the disruption of your gut bugs, is a factor in every chronic disease, period. Okay, so the picture that I have here, these are products from Master Supplements. This is a 30-day probiotic gut reset program. This is one of the best. This is the best and the most thorough that I've seen. The great news is it's also very inexpensive. I've given you a link. I'll send you out a link with all these products that we talked about. If you use the discount code, you can actually get this for about $1 a day. So you definitely have to protect your microbiome. This reset, what I'll suggest for my patients is doing the reset about every quarter. And then, or if you get put onto a antibiotic, then you definitely want to do it. And there's also other probiotics that I'll recommend on a personal basis that you just take in the interim every day, so that you're supporting that microbiome. Then we got to do things to protect that microbiome by eating right. There's a lot of studies about hand sanitizers and how they disrupt your microbiome. So make sure you're washing your hands with actual soap and water, not just relying on those, I'll just go ahead and say it, stupid little hand sanitizers. But little tricks like that can really help protect that gut. And if you protect that gut, you're going to utilize your metabolism will be boosted, and you'll utilize the calories that you do eat to make sure they're producing energy and not just going to be wasted. So that's step number 2. Step number 3. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's a couple other helpful supplements, and again, I'll give you links to all of these. We've used Sun Spectrum a lot in the past. Sun Spectrum is a good broad spectrum fiber, and one of the benefits to a good fiber is this will help the good gut bugs outcompete the bad gut bugs. But this one also contains some CoQ10 and some turmeric, some curcumin, to help with an anti-inflammatory response. Again, if we can bring those inflammatory levels down, if we can bring that oxidative stress down, you're going to notice immediate difference in the form of weight loss and increased energy. Enzolase is another one that we use a lot. Enzolase is a digestive enzyme that helps you break down your food so your body can get the nutrients that it needs. And then, of course, HCl zyme. Again, I'll give you links to all of these. These particular products you can't buy just by going to the internet and buying them. You have to actually go through a physician. That's why I got to give you this particular link so that you can get them. HCl zyme helps promote healthy stomach acid. It's an interesting fact. Most people who have heartburn actually have too little stomach acid, not too much stomach acid, and because of that, they actually have heartburn from the lactic acid that's coming up because their food's not digesting appropriately. So a couple other supplements that we use a lot. Other ones, it's really hard to make broad statements and say you should be on this and this and this without really sitting down and talking with someone. But I just wanted to give you some of the general ones that we will typically do. Step number 3 is get on an anti-inflammatory diet. And I put in here to do a ketogenic diet, Whole30, or both. And this really depends on the individual. I have, in fact, I probably didn't tell you this, but in the emails that I sent leading up to this webinar, in the link, there's a link in that email that you can download the detoxification program that I developed with US Enzyme several years ago. It is getting a little dated, and we are working on updating it, but you do have it. And I think on the new one that we do, we're going to focus only on the Whole30 diet. I highly recommend going to Whole30.com. And the reason why we've made this particular shift is because it's not just me telling you. There's so much information out there. There's so many recipes, so many menu recipe books. I mean, it's just mountains and mountains. You can go over to Barnes & Noble right now and buy a book on the Whole30 diet and take off with it. But here's the gist. Whole30 diet focuses on whole foods. So what you're going to be eating are meat, seafood, eggs, veggies, fruits, natural fats, herbs, and spices. Just natural food, not processed. And I put nuts and seeds in there as well, but I think that would fall under natural fats. But the foods that you should avoid are sugars that are real and artificial. Sugar, I could go on forever about sugar and the inflammatory effects that it has, about how it feeds cancer, how it disrupts brain metabolism, brain neurotransmitters, how it disrupts your metabolism. If you look around, if you go right now, go over to Walmart and just walk around, you will see the effects of people that have eaten too much sugar, and it's everywhere, and it's sad. Alcohol, they do have you avoid it for a 30-day period. I don't drink personally, so this isn't an issue for me. Yes, there are some benefits to drinking wine, but if you want to do this right, I would avoid it for at least 30 days. Grains are in there, legumes are in there, beans, etc. Those two things are in there because, in fact, I got a funny slide coming up for you about this one. Yes, gluten sensitivity is a real thing. Sensitivities to other grains are a real thing. Legumes are very, very high in, this goes back to the glyphosate thing. Grains and legumes are going to be loaded with glyphosates that disrupt those gut bugs that make it nearly impossible to heal. So that's why those are on this particular list. Dairy. Dairy is an interesting beast because if you listen to the ketogenic diet people, they're very high. They do eat a lot of dairy. But there's also people a lot that react very poorly to dairy. And what's interesting is you take milk and you pasteurize it and you kill all the enzymes needed so that your body can actually absorb it. So dairy sensitivities, yes, it's something we test for, and I would highly recommend getting tested for it. But if it's not there, then we definitely want to focus on raw dairy rather than pasteurized. MSG is a chemical. MSG, carrageenan, and sulfites, these are all chemicals that are basically preservatives, and your immune system is going to react very, very poorly to them. A lot of them have been linked to cancers, so we want to avoid those altogether. So when we do talk about bacon, we're talking about natural bacon, that's sulfite-free bacon. Same thing with hams and some of the other pork products that are out there. But we definitely want to avoid those. And then treats that are with approved ingredients, those are there just because we want to get you off that sugar-addicted pathway. And you can certainly, even with approved ingredients, you can certainly make some delicious treats that are still going to spike your blood sugar. Case in point, my wife made one that was fantastic last night, and you could totally go ham on it. But if you're trying to detox, then you want to avoid those for at least 30 days. So avoid glyphosate. We've touched on that. Avoid processed foods. We've talked about that. We want to focus on healthy oil and fats. Again, it's the omega-3, omega-6 thing. If you get a grass-fed cow and you're eating grass-fed beef, that grass that they're eating is very high in omega-3 fatty acids, so the meat's going to be much better for you versus a cow that's force-fed grain. Those are going to be high in omega-6s. And on we go. As I said before, I'm not going to take up a lot of time talking about the dietary component of this tonight. Call me. Let's just talk, and we can make something very personal for you. But there's so much information that's just readily available. Just start looking into Whole30. I was going to tell a story about the ketogenic diet. I think ketogenic diet's awesome. It basically gets us using a fat as fuel rather than glucose as fuel. The reason why I don't do it a lot is because we do have a lot of elderly folks that come and see me, and if I have grandma going into ketogenic flu, it might kill her. So we're careful with who we use that for, but I did have a patient that came in. He actually saw us for a stem cell injection, and on his first visit, I told him the best thing he could do was lose some weight, and then we could do the injection. Guy goes and gets on a ketogenic diet and comes back 6 months later, 50 pounds less. So I was pretty thrilled about that, but it really isn't for everybody. The Whole30 is a lot more applicable to a lot more people. So as far as the anti-inflammatory diet, I think that's the best direction to go. Again, you actually have a copy of my diet sitting in your inbox. If it's not there, let me know. We'll certainly get you a free digital copy. We also have copies of it for sale in my office. I put this in here because it's funny. Over 5,000 years of eating bread, and less than a decade, everyone's allergic to gluten. This was put on, someone on Facebook posted this, a guy I went to high school with. I guarantee you he's addicted to gluten, and his brain chemistry gets all kind of goofy when people start saying you need to stop eating it, and that's where we get posts like this. Yes, we've been eating grains for over 5,000 years, but our farming procedures are getting more and more glyphosate heavy, and I think that's the chemical component is where this is all coming from. So step 3 in the anti-inflammatory diet, the Whole30 diet. I put this picture in here. This is a perfect example. This is my griddle in my kitchen. These are sweet potatoes they're organic sweet potatoes, so they were not produced using glyphosate. And I basically just slice them, and then I sprinkle some oregano on there, or is that parsley? I can't remember on this one. And I'm cooking them in bacon grease. Of course, it was sulfite-free bacon, sugar-free bacon. We're cooking them in that grease, and then I just kind of brown them on both sides, let them cool, and then I wrapped them in raw bacon and cooked them in the oven at 400 for about 20 minutes. So, and as promised, there's the kids. You can hear them in the background. And they turn out to be delicious things. And it's really, people, when they start to wrap their head around this, it is difficult. We got an invitation to a New Year's party that's Wednesday. And I texted the people that invited us. We're moving into a new home. The neighbors at the new home invited us over. And I said, we'd love to come, but we are those people. Don't be offended. We don't eat your food, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that the husband and the son are also on a gluten-free diet. But this is something I will make to take over there because it's good food, and people just aren't used to getting good whole food like that. And so this is, I will definitely be making these for that particular occasion. Step 4 is to exercise. Notice I put this fourth and I didn't put this first. Okay? Because exercise isn't what you think it is. We don't exercise to burn calories. We exercise to stimulate our brains. Remember, our waist size is inversely proportional to brain health. Okay? Now, exercise is important, number 1, for brain activation because you're going to fire all those nerves. Number 2, it's important for muscle tone. Number 3, it's important for that hormone balance. There's some very interesting studies about squats and deadlifts in particular that help you actually balance out your hormones. Those big muscle groups act as hormone buffers. And then it helps with your posture, which helps with the brain. And then again, waist size is inversely proportional to brain health. So very important things to touch on there, very important things to talk about. But exercise, look, everybody's on a different spectrum when it comes to exercise. My wife and I, we met at this particular gym where these pictures were taken about 5 years ago, or about 4 years ago, and we haven't stopped going since then. So it's a very, very good thing to get in the habit of not just doing cardio and getting out and running, riding bicycles, walking, etc. But you do have to pick up heavy weight and put it down because that muscle tone will infinitely help with what you're trying to accomplish. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about, so we talked about those 5 steps. Those are all things that you can do, 4 steps, excuse me. Those are all things that you can do on your own. The last step is a little bit more difficult and does require someone who's trained in functional medicine, and that is to get your labs looked at. And when we look at labs, we don't look at lab numbers, and here is what I mean. You have these what are called normal and abnormal low and abnormal high values. And for example, we'll use blood sugar. Okay? Blood sugar, your blood sugar, if you go and get your blood sugar tested, it's going to say 65 and under is abnormally low and 100 and over is abnormally high. And if you go over a 100, we start to suspect insulin resistance and diabetes. If you drop under 65, then we're thinking hypoglycemia. But what about those folks that are falling in those ranges but still abnormal? Well, the lab range, or the functional lab ranges, should be between 85 and 99. So if your blood sugar is at 74, your doctor is going to say, oh, that's normal. But in reality, it's functionally low, and there are some steps that you can take to correct that. Versus on the other side of this, your blood sugar is at 99 or 100. Your doctor is going to say, oh, that's normal. But in reality, that's not a normal number, and there's some steps that you can take to correct that. So it is very important to check those ranges so that we know where they're at, so that we can start making small changes ahead of time before things break down. And that's one of the things that we do offer is we'll take your labs and look at your labs, and we can see where we need to make some of those changes to help you have a better quality of life. So last thing is, if you want me to look at those, if you want some personalized attention, then I've given you a link to go to that you can actually get on my schedule, so that we can start this process for you. We can do a consultation. We do charge $79 for that consultation. We're going to charge you for my time. Normally it's $150, but I just want to talk about what labs have been done, what things look like, what you're trying to accomplish, so I can make some suggestions from there, and so I can come up with a plan of action for you. So if you'll click on that link, we'll get you on the schedule, and then we can talk. We can look at your labs. If you're out of state, it's a little harder for me to order labs for you. So if you've had them done, send them to me. If you're here and you're local, then we can get ordered what hasn't been done. And then we can really start making some corrective actions so that 2020 is a much better year for you than 2019 was. So, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being here. Remember those 4 steps. Drink your water. Take care of your gut. Eat an anti-inflammatory diet, and exercise. Lastly, if you want my help in this, I'm here. We'd love to help you. I love to say that my practice is kind of a concierge type of practice where we'll do whatever we can to get you going in the right direction. So thanks a lot. We appreciate you, and we'll stick around for a few. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and then we can go from there. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.